another consistent game for Manny Wilkins. He didn't put up flashy numbers, but he didn't throw another pick. He was a good game manager throughout this whole game, and Jake Browning really wasn't.
Yeah.
I mean, with the way he's looked these especially last year when Washington made the playoff, Jake Browning was barely above 50% completion percentage and under 200 passing yards. I mean, with a team like that against ASU, you have to put up more numbers.
No, definitely. This ASU defense was outstanding, I thought, against Washington. Browning only managed 139 passing yards, and he went 17 for 30 on completions. It was a really rough game, and I thought that the run defense was outstanding, too, with Gaskin only getting 67 yards. Both lines, I thought, played outstanding, offensive and defensive line for ASU.
And I think what we saw the game before for ASU is they had a little bit of problems with special teams, especially in that Oregon game, where they had a muffed punt and they give up long returns. Against University of Washington, they really shored that up. I mean, with the best return man in maybe the NCAA, especially on punts.
They made Dante Pettis a non-factor.
Yeah, Dante Pettis had no return yards, essentially. He looked stagnant. There was nothing he could do against us.
And I thought some of the punts that our punter had were a little shaky and a little off. A couple of them sailed out of bounds, and they were short punts, but I do like the fact that Washington's returner didn't get into the game, and that was a big thing, especially with all the special team miscues we've had. But I think a big turning point in the game was the touchdown that got called back because there was a holding call.
That was like 3 penalties in the whole game, and one of them just happens to prevent a touchdown. Now, the thing, I was very impressed. I honestly thought I was going to have to leave at halftime because it was going to be so awful, and but more of it's kind of now turning to a big picture thing for ASU. They played really well against the Huskies, and I just think this team kind of turned a corner, and they really played a kind of a flawless game. Offense didn't really get going in the second half, but so what does this mean for the Devils' season, and what is this more impact with Todd Graham? Because there's been so much talk about firing Todd Graham, not even waiting to the end of the year, but like now, So let's talk about that.
I'm not going to say it's going to make ASU's defense look legit. Their pass defense proved themselves this week, especially against more of a vertical offense for Washington. But we obviously didn't look too bad on the rush defense either because ASU only gave up 7 points.
Especially after how they did against Stanford and Brad Penny.
But I think what this means for
Love.
I think what this means for ASU going forward means that we can stop maybe a team like USC in the future, but ASU is going to have to kind of shore up their run defense when it comes to games like Arizona when that's all they do.
Yeah.
With Khalil Tate, because he's just another running back, but he has the ball every time.
Yeah, and I thought it was a big moment, especially for this season, because now the record is 3-3, and I think 3 more wins are attainable, and I think that gets us into a bowl game.
I think 4. They could win 4 more games.
Yeah, they could.
This has really turned around since we said they weren't going to win another game.
Definitely would not. I'll go on the record saying that after that San Diego State loss, I definitely said we were going to go 1-11.
And we all agreed with you, so we're all in that one.
I should have had a little bit more faith. I mean, SC at one point last season was 1-3, and they were in the Rose Bowl last year. So,
are we smelling the roses? You think?
The Rose Bowl's a playoff bowl this year, so no, we're not smelling roses. But I don't see why a 7-5, heck, even 8-4. I don't see why that's not unattainable at this juncture. We've won 2 games that we weren't supposed to. We weren't supposed to beat Oregon. We weren't supposed to beat Washington.
And let's not forget ASU or USC is to come here. That's a tough game for them, especially with the way Sam Darnold has looked this season.
Yeah.
He's not really looked like the number 1 pick of the draft in any game.
Candidate that everyone says he is.
Yeah, in none of the games this whole season, not just pick and choosing. So if ASU can go out, beat Utah, beat UCLA, who looked very beatable against U of A last week, and beat Oregon State, and who knows, we could pull off a win against USC. That's a couple more wins. It wouldn't surprise me either way this team goes, but I think ASU has now a legitimate shot to play in a bowl game.
No, definitely. I think the schedule.
Depends on how good of a bowl game. That's really.
Yeah.
Beggars can't be choosers.
The Sun Bowl is not much to celebrate about, but it is a bowl game.
Maybe for this season it could be.
And for you guys too, you're freshmen, so this is your first year, but last year was pretty painful.
I bet
5-7, and then the year before getting to that Cactus Bowl and then losing to West Virginia. I was in Georgia at the time and stayed up till 2 a.m. watching that game. It was pretty awful.
Jeez.
I don't know. I also don't get too ahead of ourselves because we're still talking about Arizona State football, and look at them. My freshman year, they were ranked 15th in the nation, and were supposed to be in the playoff and went 6-6. So it's still Todd Graham. It's still ASU. They haven't played consistent enough yet.
But again, this comes back to the conversation we had earlier in the year, where how many wins does it take to keep Todd Graham his job?
I think 7-5 with a victory over U of A would keep his job for sure. And
I think the U of A win is huge,
and a bowl win too. A bowl win. If he goes 7-5 and then 8-5 with a bowl win, keep him.
Yeah.
Definitely. But I honestly, even if the team finishes, I don't think they would fire him after beating Washington. Even if it's a 5-7
for the
finish.
year.
Yeah, definitely for the year.
Washington doesn't keep his job for next year. I think it saves him from not getting fired at any point this season.
And that's
during the season until after they're done playing football.
And that's the thing about college football is firing a coach has a lot bigger effect than it does perhaps in the NFL, because you have recruits coming in that you want to keep, and if there's not stability at the head coaching position, what makes you want to stay in that college unless it's just the absolute perfect place for you no matter who is there?
Yeah.
So we'll just have to see what happens with Coach Todd Graham, and that buyout's still super expensive.
Oh, yeah. It's still 10.25. And also, I also think another thing the game was on ESPN.
Yeah.
That's national television, even though nobody on the East Coast is watching the game.
Pac-12 after dark.
It's still the number 5 team in the nation,
right,
losing to ASU on a national network. If this was the Pac-12 network, I would have been like, this is awful, because that is not something you want to be seen. But recruits watch ESPN. And if they see that, hey, look what ASU just did. They just beat the number 5 team in Washington. Remember, Washington's stolen a couple Arizona-based recruits from U of A and Arizona State. So nothing but positives come to mind for me for the ASU game.
Definitely.
Of course, weekend.
And then, talking about next week, we're talking about the rest of the season, but for just, the team's just focusing on this Utah game. I would hesitate to say, I still think we're underdogs in that game.
Yeah.
For sure.
Utah's a tough team. They're 4-2 coming in it, and it's in Utah, so that's going to be a tough one. So,
yeah, that's not an easy place to play.
Yeah.
And Utah's been putting up good points per game. They've been playing good defense.
Who are their losses? I know that one of their losses.
They lost Saturday to USC by 1, and then Stanford beat them by 3.
And so teams
and they should have won that USC game.
They just decided to go for 2, and I mean, it's a ball. You want to go for the win.
Yeah. And I like that play. So that 4-2 record is not as bad as it looks. And 4-2 is still 4-2
is not a bad record.
Yeah,
I wish we were 4-2.
Yeah. They're a tough team, and it's going to be a tough one this week. It's not going to be an easy win. It's going to be competitive the whole way.
But that's another game proving that USC is still not the big team that they
exactly
were hyped up to be at the start of the year.
They're ranked 11th.
Ronald Jones, a good running back, and Sam Darnold's a good quarterback.
The whole Pac-12 got shook up this weekend.
God. Washington State, Washington.
I don't know who's.
It's a lot.
I'm leaning towards Stanford winning everything now.
Yeah, I think Stanford. Who's stopping Bryce Love? No one's stopping him.
No one. Clearly not
Arizona
State.
He is a freak. See him. He's run over every team. There's not one, how many, I think he had over 100 rushing yards in the first quarter of last week's game.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's
no one's touching him.
Yeah.
And I don't know why he's not in the Heisman candidacy right now. No one's really talking about him. It's all about Saquon.
Well, okay. Saquon Barkley is phenomenal.
I'm not saying he's not, but I'm saying
without him, Penn State is not a good team.
I think Bryce Love should still be in the conversation. And Trace McSorley is a good quarterback. I think he looked really good in the Rose Bowl game last year, and he's proven what he can do this season as well as last season. I don't think Penn State's maybe the same team they are. They're not the number 2 team in the country without Saquon Barkley, of course.
Yeah.
But they're still a top team in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Bryce, they'll start talking about him.
It's only week 6. He needs some love.
They've only played 6 games. It's only week 8.
Yeah.
14 weeks is a regular season. So, all right, let's move on from ASU football, even though I hope that they win next week.
Yeah, we hope so.
Unbiased, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Let's move on to baseball.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, Houston, what the heck? Looking really sharp the first 2 games of the year. Is this something that the Astros just can't win unless Keuchel or Verlander's on the mound?
I think it's the thing here is it's so hard to win in New York. We've seen this throughout, unless you're talking about the 2004 Red Sox. You find it very hard to win in New York, especially with this team.
New York or Yankee Stadium?
Yankee Stadium.
Oh, yeah.
Yankee Stadium. But this team, they're coming together. They're all rallying around each other. I think this is the best full, not team wise, like just based on strictly talent, but I think this team is the closest team, and I think that means a lot more than it does. Than people think it does.
No, definitely. And I know we mentioned when Keuchel and Verlander pitch, I do think that makes a big difference, especially because both of them are true aces. And,
in their own right.
Obviously, Verlander came from Detroit, and he's known as a Tiger. That's just been Verlander for the last 10, 12 years.
Right.
But I think it's not as much a bash towards the rest of the rotation. I think the rest of the rotation's great. McCullers
was good today.
He did a great job. It just
Astros kind of just got hit up in the wrong spots. And Morton has also had a good season, but yesterday he had a bad game. He's still a human. I mean, he's still a pitcher.
Yeah.
And Todd Frazier had that little poke home run.
Just off the edge of his bat. Sailed
the amount
over.
of times I think all of us have seen stats on ESPN where someone hits a home run. They said that's only a home run at Yankee Stadium with the weird dimensions. It's the smallest field by the polls. I think it's like 314. It's a smaller 314, like 312.
Fenway is technically shorter, but the
monster is so tall.
Balances it out.
But that's field smaller than my high school field. I think that's ridiculous how the Bronx Bombers are playing at a smaller field than some high schools.
Yeah, but they've been playing there for 10 years now.
And as you mentioned that, Judge hit another home run. He's up to 3 for this postseason, and he had the.
But he's also struck out 20 times.
Yeah, but still, he had the double that tied the game, and Sanchez was the one who hit the double later that eventually won this game. They won about 10, 15 minutes ago, but Judge has shown up again. He is the player that has carried his team to this far.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is two just very good lineups. And once you're down in the lower parts of the rotation, you really see how well these teams can hit. When you see Morton, McCullers come out, and then you have guys like Severino's not pitching, or like Sonny Gray was thrown today.
Yeah,
he got hit up a little bit, and Sabathia got hit up a little bit early in the series.
Last night.
So I think what we're seeing is how just strong these lineups are. I mean, we've known how good the Astros are, and now the Yankees are all kind of clicking around the same time. With Gregorius is hitting well, Judge has always been doing well, Sanchez has been doing well, and now Frazier's actually starting to hit.
I think one of the advantages, obviously, for the Yankees is their bullpen and the strength of it.
We knew that coming in.
Yeah, but one of the things from today's game was Yankees didn't score through the first 6 innings. They scored in the 7th and 8th inning, and that's what got them past the Astros. Obviously, the Astros scored 4 runs, but they scored 3 of them in the 6th. So 7, 8, 9, they only scored 1 run.
Yeah,
and that was when they needed to score. The Yankees bullpen is outstanding, and Chapman looks a lot better than he did during the regular season.
Yeah, not only are the AL side scoring in the first and second half of the game, depending which team you are. The Cubs have come out to a lead in both the 2 games that they've played in NLCS.
They just took the lead right now.
So
now they've taken to bring that up.
So now they've taken the lead in the first 3 games now, but have lost it to the Dodgers because the Dodgers have a little bit more longevity and they're staying together.
Well, I think this will be a different. Maybe you're right. I don't
know.
Now
that they're in Chicago, who knows? Because we know how important home field advantage is in baseball. I think maybe if the Dodgers can come out with 1 game in Chicago, I think you can say the series might be over.
Well, today is Darvish, so if the Dodgers can get past them today, just hypothetically, this is like
it's Darvish and Hendricks.
Yeah,
so the Cubs still have a great
matchup.
pitcher.
Yeah, they have a great matchup. But one of the things was they used Hill in Game 2, which was a big thing because Alex Wood is scheduled to pitch Game 4, and Alex Wood was a stud during the regular season.
He's an all-star.
Yeah, exactly.
He didn't win a game. He didn't lose a game until at what point in the season? He was a freak. He wasn't losing. He started off with 10, 11, and 0.
And Kershaw just gets to rest during all this, and he pitched outstanding in the first game.
An embarrassment of riches here for the Dodgers. They have a great starting rotation. But I'd like to see the Cubs make this series obviously more interesting. As a baseball fan in general, we'd love to see a better series. As long as I don't want to see a Dodgers Yankees World Series. There's something about that just rubs me the wrong way.
It makes me sick inside, but I think that's what we're gonna get, honestly. Yeah. But it's a Joe Madden led Cubs, so I can't count them out.
Right.
So, it's bottom of 1 right now. 1 out. Cubs are up 1-0.
Rizzo's up to bat.
Bryant just knocked a single.
Oh,
Brizzo.
All right, we're gonna take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about how weird the NFL has been this season, and a little bit of the NBA, and if we get to it, a little bit of the NHL for you hockey fans. We'll be right back. You're listening to Bottom of the Six on Blaze Radio.
You want some country music in your life, and we got it for you. Blaze Radio's premier country music show, Blazing Saddles, is back for a whole new semester.
From the big stars to the up-and-comers, we have all of your favorite tunes.
Join Steven Onoveros, Blaine McCormick, and Alex Ellis live from the Bill Austin Radio Studio as they bring you throwbacks at 3:30, in-studio interviews, and a whole lot more.
Wednesdays, 3 to 4, on your local student station, BlazeRadioOnline.com.
Hey Blaze Nation, College Radio Day is on October 6th, but the celebration doesn't end there. Look forward to more ticket giveaways, local music, news coverage, and play-by-plays right here on BlazeRadioOnline.com. Blaze Radio wouldn't be possible without the support of our listeners and student volunteers. From all of us at Blaze Radio, thank you for your continued love and support of college radio.
Welcome back to BlazeRadioOnline.com. You're also listening to Blaze Radio. I'm Nicholas Welter alongside Jackson Nelson and Adam Noel. See, guys, that was a fast 60 seconds.
Yeah, it was quick. Quickest 60 seconds ever.
We are talking NFL now, as we always do every week. And we're not doing traditional kind of breaking down the previous week. We haven't really talked about. I haven't been here in 2 weeks, and but we've been absent for a week. We're not going to do that. We're not going to really talk about potential games. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe
Maybe.
not. I don't know.
We'll see.
Depending.
It's our show. We can do whatever we want. I just kind of want to talk about how weird this season has been, and how it's not really there's no team that's really standing out to me right now as like a team that's really gonna run with it, and also some weird stuff with Zeke, because there's always weird stuff with Zeke.
Always weird stuff with Zeke.
Jeez.
I guess we can talk about that first.
Okay.
For those of you who don't know, he appealed, I guess, again today, or he
was granted.
He gets a play on Sunday. That's all I know.
Okay,
Which is good for me because I have him on my fantasy team.
What ended up happening was the decision that went to the appeals court that overturned the original ruling that let Zeke play. They suspended that, so it looked like his 6-game suspension was in place, but a federal judge just granted a temporary restraining order to block that order.
So they reversed the reverse order that reversed the reverse.
Basically.
Okay.
That's confusing.
But
You following along?
The
everyone?
issue being was the one that happened most recently that looked like the suspension was going to be in place. The judge, she's on vacation right now, so the federal...
How convenient for the Cowboys.
Yeah, exactly. The federal judge was able to overrule her because she was gone, so now everything's very chaotic and Zeke gets to play.
So as of right now, do you guys think that this will finally be instated once this judge comes back from vacation?
I don't know. I think Zeke should just suck it up and serve it. You're going to have to serve it anyway. He's going to... Like, Zeke, I don't understand why you're just putting it off. Get it over with. And the Cowboys aren't the Cowboys aren't going anywhere this year anyway. So just serve the suspension, come back later. That way it's over with. Like, Tom Brady knew he was going to have to serve a suspension. And he took it. He took it.
And took his ring back.
Right.
Touchdown, Tom, baby.
Just serve the suspension already. And it's weird for me to say that. I'm not a Cowboys fan. But
if I were a Cowboys fan, if we were, we'd probably be saying something different. But
maybe, but even still, just serve your suspension. Right. Just serve your suspension. That's all I'm asking. And get it over with.
But even
let's move on.
Even as a Cowboys fan this week, they play the 49ers. Like, this
so
would
what?
Be,
that'll only bring them to 500.
This would be the ideal game for Zeke to be suspended for. Like, he should have just started the suspension, but of course he wants to play against Cowboys, one of the worst teams.
The Cowboys aren't going anywhere this year.
Yeah, exactly.
You gotta have faith in your team, though.
Yeah, and
I don't know. I just whatever.
It looks like Darren McFadden is not good enough to play. So
really worried about Darren McFadden.
Cowboys running game is shot without him. I understand that, but just serve your suspension, dude. Just serve it.
Just do it.
That's all I'm asking.
Like
End
Nike.
this mess.
all I'm
Let's
asking.
not have another Deflategate.
Okay.
That took way too long to be resolved.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Okay. Chaoticness. All right.
Chaoticness in the NFL. So I thought the Packers were going to run away with the North. And
You
then-
thought, didn't you, Nicholas?
And then Aaron Rodgers broke his collarbone.
the purple people eaters back it again.
Oh, come on, man. That hit was so unnecessary.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Terrible hit against.
Okay, but if he wouldn't have broke his collarbone on that play, we wouldn't even be talking about it.
Fair.
So I don't think we can say that was such a cheap shot. He didn't hit him in the head. It wasn't.
Yeah, but the play was
it wasn't
clean.
the latest hit. There's far worse hits we've seen throughout this season in the
probably
NFL.
right. You're
Call
probably-
me biased.
You're probably
but
right.
I
You're
think
probably right.
it was an all right hit by Barr, and Barr also got a concussion that game too. Are you guys gonna talk about how Anthony Barr got hurt?
No.
That's called karma.
We do not
Okay.
want to talk about
called
Anthony
karma.
I
Barr's
don't-
injury.
I wouldn't wish injury on anybody. But
Neither
that
would
is-
I.
That's called karma.
Okay, guys.
But now, honestly, Teddy Bridgewater, did the results come back with his doctors?
He's cleared to practice.
Yes,
Nice.
but
So
Okay,
once he starts
so-
practice, he's got 21 days, or else they'll be put on the season-ending IR. But as a Vikings fan, I don't want to see Teddy Bridgewater play this season.
Why?
No,
There's no- there's
we
no-
want Teddy.
There's
We
no
want Teddy.
reason for him to play right now. If we're making the playoffs, it's going to be because of how Case Keenum plays.
No.
So I don't want to
Do
take the
not-
ball out of his hand.
Do not give your team to Case Keenum. You have Sam Bradford and Teddy Bridgewater.
Sam Bradford is not as good of a quarterback as Case Keenum is.
I
That
concur
is
with that.
No, that is a wrong
You
statement.
disagree?
I said I concur with that.
Yes, he concurs, Adam.
Did you not watch the Monday night game where after
he
one
was
drive,
still
after
hurt.
one
He's
quarter,
immobile.
He was
I
still
know, but
hurt.
even
Bradford
when he's
got
not
pulled.
hurt, he's immobile.
No,
Case
when
Keenum
he
actually
was-
showed he has a little bit of legs in that Packers.
That's
No,
what I'm saying,
week
start-
one, when he was healthy, he played outstanding. He looked 100 times
because he was
better
playing
than
against the
Case
Saints'
Keenum.
trash defense.
True.
It was just a smelly defense
The
from the
Saints
Saints.
definitely gave up like
He
30 plus
worked
points this
them.
week.
He worked them with taking not even a two-step drop. He gets the snap, doesn't move, throws it to his stud wide receivers, Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen.
Actually, one quick thing about your Saints defense comment. They got 33 points in my fantasy league this week, so they're not exactly
They still gave up.
trash.
They still gave up 38 points. If their offense wasn't so prolific, they would have got skulled.
Also, let's keep in mind that most of their points were based off touchdowns, returns, and pick sixes.
No, but-
anyway, that's not what I'm talking about.
But Case Keenum last season on the Rams, so bad.
That's 'cause it was
so bad.
Rams.
it's a different season.
Look at the Rams this season.
with Jared Goff and a different coach.
Yeah.
God.
You can't compare
A
Case
Jeff
Keenum-
Fisher-led Case
Yeah,
Keenum
okay,
offense.
all right.
Jeff Fisher led
no.
anything. is
The
just
worst
bleh.
coach statistically in the NFL history. Tied for most losses.
No, what about Hugh Jackson? Well, that's not enough qualified wins, but Hugh Jackson's record with the Browns.
Dude, he's turning the Browns
It's
around.
with the
gosh.
Browns. We're gonna keep that in
That's
mind.
different.
Okay.
It's with real teams that we're talking about.
We're talking
That's-
about
that's
NFL
fair.
teams.
I don't think. I don't understand why you don't want Bridgewater. He is mobile. He has a gun of an arm.
He doesn't. We didn't utilize when he had him. When Teddy Bridgewater was the quarterback for the Vikings a couple years ago, the offense was still centered on the run game because his arm strength wasn't there yet. Because he's not a very accurate passer down the field. He has a lot of short passes. With the receiver core that the Vikings have this year, that could work, but he almost had to have his leg amputated.
Yeah.
I think the Vikings should just take a step back,
Let him take the
relax,
time.
and see what
Isn't
the
he-
steps he makes in his practice and start him next season.
After this season, isn't
plan.
he? What's his contract like? I thought he was a
I
restricted
think
free
he's
agent.
he's under contract for a couple of
He has,
years.
he has
he
one
is?
more year, and I don't see Teddy Bridgewater going anywhere.
Okay.
No, I don't
Well,
think so either. I think he
another-
will stay. It's his team. I mean, if he didn't get hurt in preseason a year ago, he
And
would,
Dalvin
Yeah,
Cook will be back
easily.
next year.
Right.
That would be a
Yeah.
scary team.
Okay.
with
but-
Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen and Laquan Treadwell as your
And
wideouts.
that insane defense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
They have-
the Vikings are the best team in the NFL, though.
No, they're not at all.
That would belong to the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh.
The Fargo boy, Carson Wentz, leading the squad. Gotta love it.
After what I saw from the Chiefs against the Steelers, my mind's changed. I think the Eagles.
I think this game for the Chiefs was a statement win that they lost.
Yeah.
So they're still not a legit team to me yet. There's not really any legit teams to me yet.
I think the Eagles are a legit team.
I think the win against Carolina was a good.
I was on the road.
Was a good win for them.
Don't say resume. That's college football. Fool.
I'm still gonna say resume. Okay.
They also beat the Redskins on the road, lost to the Chiefs by a touchdown on the road
Well-
in a game that they shouldn't have lost. And then, I mean, it's not much of a win, but they beat the Chargers on the road.
But look at
And they destroyed the Cardinals. I don't know. I just think the Eagles are for real, man. I think the Eagles are for real.
I want to see one more good win out of the
Well, they're
Eagles.
playing the Redskins this week.
I don't want to say this, but the Chiefs look pretty solid in terms of everything. Like they're 5-1, and Broncos lost, which pains me to say,
Shut
but
up.
Broncos
they're in
is a-
great position right now. The AFC, New England's 4-2, Pittsburgh's 4-2. The AFC South is just
There's two
gridlock.
There's two one-loss teams left.
If in 2 weeks,
in terms of
the Chiefs beat the Broncos, I mean, Chiefs are
Okay.
the best team in the AFC.
I mean, we'll see.
Chiefs are the best team in the AFC, record-wise and by the way they play on the field.
I think the Patriots still have a chance to step it up and come
They
back
do.
and take the AFC because Tom Brady has had no signs of slowing down still. He's leading the NFL in passing yards.
Well, it's not the offense.
That's what I'm getting to. It's the defense's problem.
Yeah.
Now that
They
Dante
almost lost to the
Hightower's back,
Jets.
so they've got a big piece back in their defense. So I think the Patriots right now, I think, have the best chance to come out of the AFC, which obviously was probably most of our opinions starting the season.
Yeah.
But I think the Chiefs still aren't. They had to win that Steelers game for me to really look at them as a team that could contend for the Super Bowl. Because we see how good Kareem Hunt's been, Alex Smith's been good, but we need another good big win. And with the way the Steelers have been playing lately, you have to beat the Steelers.
I also think everyone's entitled to a fluke.
true.
That could be the case. Is that the
someone-
Broncos' case before losing to the Giants this week?
Yes,
Okay.
it sure
No,
is
dude.
because that was a
No way.
terrible game.
Explain.
It was a terrible game because the Broncos
Offensively.
Broncos
aren't
played
good.
horribly.
Yes, the
Trevor Siemian.
They
The
figured out
Northwestern
how to
grad.
beat the Broncos defense.
Right.
that was one.
Sorry, buddy. I don't
one
understand your fandom.
No,
I'm sorry.
no.
Can we talk about this real quick?
One of the
get back to
touchdowns
the
was
NFL.
was a pick six. The other ones all. I know that
Pick
Eli
six
was
off
able
Simeon.
to move the ball, but that was all.
You're going to bring it
God.
after Trevor. Brock Osweiler.
God.
The Brock star.
Brock
LOL.
played because
Go send him.
Trevor got
Forks up.
hurt trying to tackle on the pick six, and he messed up his shoulder, and he should be fine this week, but I don't know. I really was high on my Broncos this season, but that was a real
Well, you're going to get another
punch,
win this week because you're playing the Chargers. So-
thankfully.
Yeah. Let's not be so certain.
Okay. I was certain about the Giants, so now I'm less certain just in general for this season. We'll see how it goes.
Meanwhile, there are still two winless teams,
Ooh.
the Browns and the Niners.
Oh.
But the
Shock-
Niners
shocker
actually have
there.
lost a couple close games. I
They're
actually
right.
think that
Yeah.
the Niners could have won some of those. Did you see them against Washington this week?
Yeah.
They could have won that game.
They could have won that.
Maybe Washington shot himself
They
in the
didn't look
foot.
terrible against the Seahawks. Even.
They benched Hoyer at one point, too.
C.J. Beathard.
Yeah, he's
the Iowa Hawkeye.
No. He's so gross.
He is.
Okay, but
So are the 49ers.
real
so fitting
quick,
quarterback.
since we're Arizona, AP. That's it.
Yeah,
Where was AP? Where was he in New Orleans? Why didn't the Saints use him? Why?
Because they've
why did
been a passing offense forever. It's
Yeah.
hard to throw in a guy like Adrian Peterson. Into that
But why
offense.
play Mark Ingram and Kamara so much over?
It's because Kamara's
he
good as
doesn't
a
work
pass
in the
catcher.
system.
Yeah, Adrian Peterson's not the greatest pass catcher. He's just
Yeah,
great.
that's fair.
He's great lining up 9 yards back and just bowling. And everyone.
Jackson's
He's strong.
exactly right. The Peyton Breeze system for years when they won the Super Bowl was throw first and then run never.
That's why Reggie Bush I think worked well with the
'Cause he was
because he's a great pass catcher.
Yeah,
Right,
That's
running back.
fair.
And I think
out
that's
of
what
the
they found
backfield.
in Melvin Kamara.
Yep.
Well, the last 2 years
Alvin.
they've used
Alvin.
Ingram
Alvin.
decently. Like they've balanced it a little more, but this is another season where they're just going with the passing and relying on.
Well, they just didn't work on their defense.
The
which
Cardinals
they
are a
should've.
grind team.
Yeah, and it worked perfectly
AP
for them.
Works very well in Arizona.
Yeah.
It's also funny to me because it just seems like the Arizona Cardinals are a retirement home for NFL
doesn't-
players. Carson Palmer and
Yeah,
and
the amount of
Larry
times
Fitz.
when watching the game against the Bucks this weekend, you saw vintage Carson Palmer, vintage Larry Fitzgerald, vintage AP.
Dude,
it's
Larry
a lot of
Fitzgerald
old
is
players on this
vintage
team.
all the time.
That
That's
duo,
what, I know, but that's
though.
what I'm saying. It's a very you're like what you said, a retirement kind of team. Like this is we're like I think all three of those guys will end their careers in Arizona, and it's kind of a bummer because it's kind of like their last run, but they still are all looking good.
I mean, they're 3-3. They're not by any means. They're not out of the playoff race for the NFC West. The NFC West is to me very weak.
Is led by the LA Rams.
True.
As it stands.
Wow.
Which is funny.
Yeah, I would have. No, yeah, did you guess that? No, neither did I. No.
Another division that's interesting to me, and we'll touch on this, and then we'll kind of wrap this up and move to the NBA. The AFC South has 3 teams that are 3-3.
Yeah, it's just
and their last place team, the Colts, are 2-4, who could have won last night. Honestly, I didn't really watch it. I was kind of bored with the football game last night. I don't know if you guys were. I was only watching it because I had fantasy players.
That's
on the
fair.
teams.
That's a fair point. Mariota being back is big, though. I think
He looked good in the pocket.
Titans are the team there that has the edge. I know Houston's looked outstanding with Deshaun Watson, but Jacksonville's got some great wins.
Yeah.
So it's very competitive.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson is the first rookie ever to throw 3 touchdowns in his first 3 starts.
That's crazy.
That's kind of
He's
surprising.
He's played outstanding.
Because, I mean, normally rookie quarterbacks don't do that great. But, I mean, you would think at least one quarterback at some point. But that shows, like, that Deshaun Watson is a for real quarterback. I mean, Dabo Sweeney was hyping him up coming out of Clemson. I was like, yeah, maybe, but I don't think he's as good as Patrick Mahomes. But he was just put in the right situation at the right time, and that's why he's playing so well.
Yep. Also, I mean, the only problem with Houston is their defense. They lost a lot of guys to injury this year.
Yeah, that's huge.
And J.J. Watt, like,
That's
I know
what
we're
I'm
talking about that,
Yeah,
but
Whitney Merciless
biggest,
and then J.J. Watt, going
but
down.
biggest name and defense.
Yeah,
like
on any
J.J.
team.
Watt, like that's your team.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to see how.
Arguably the best player in the NFL.
among
J.J. Watt.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah.
So that's a huge loss for them. They're still 3-3, but you see the Texans kind of always come away with that championship in their division.
I think the Titans are going to get it this year.
Yeah, I think Titans too.
I like Marcus Mariota. I'd like to
I do
see
too.
what he
Yeah.
can do. He was.
If he stays healthy.
I think all of us can say we are big fans of Marcus Mariota in college, the way he looked, even if he was a Pac-12 guy.
Yeah.
That's the reason why. I like the Pac-12. All right, moving on from NFL to NBA here, our last segment. Sorry, hockey fans, we're not going to get to the NHL today, I don't think, unless we speak through this NBA stuff quickly.
Sorry.
Kind of some gross news coming out of the NBA.
The
So tip-off's
brutality.
tonight. Tip-off was tonight. The first games are underway already. And Gordon Hayward broke his leg in the
6 minutes into the
fracture.
game.
Excuse me, he fractured his ankle. Like,
But fractured's putting it nicely. He
It
broke.
was. Yeah,
It
it was.
snapped.
yeah, the picture's pretty nasty, and if you can stomach it, I would go look it up.
Yeah.
But it's not.
It's not as bad as Kevin Ware,
No.
but it's
But
I
the
don't want to
Celtics
look
are
at it
definitely
twice.
losing right now, 61-43.
Yeah. Because how
9 minutes
how
left
does
in
a
the
team
third.
come back after losing a guy like that right away, especially when you're playing
He's a big free
the
agent.
Cavs? That's what I'm saying. So it's a tough job for Boston to come into a game like that after losing one of their best, the free agent signing that was one of the biggest talk about free agents in the offseason.
Well, we can say it's
Kyrie.
Kyrie's team. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's Kyrie's team, but Gordon Hayward's the number 2.
Yeah,
It's
4
a
new
big
starters
3.
on
Yeah,
that team.
exactly.
The only thing I think that saves the Celtics is the fact that the East is so weak.
Yeah.
Fair. And
But then
Like,
it's
they're
gonna,
gonna-
but
you
they're
know
gonna end
they're
up
still
playing the
gonna be number-
Cavs again at some point.
Yeah, well, we're gonna get Cavs Warriors Part 4.
yeah, but
I'm sorry
Cavs
for
Warriors
fans
Part
of.
4.
I'm sorry for fans of
Well-
other teams, but that's just the way it is. And honestly, if we could just skip through this regular season, let's.
In the East.
no,
Love to watch the West.
no.
I want to watch the West.
I want to.
I want to get to
The Wild West.
I want to get to the conference semifinals already.
No, that's
Let's
no.
just fast forward to there and be done with
We
it.
gotta see the rookies. We gotta see Ben
Oh
Simmons,
my
Mark Bill
gosh.
Fultz. We gotta
Who
see Lonzo
cares?
Ball.
Never lost.
Oh, he's
Well, that's
he's
LeVar.
ready to take over.
I'm excited
LA.
to see LeVar on the sideline.
Why?
I want to see what he's like.
Yeah.
He's a personality.
Sports. No.
Oh, come on, Josh
This
Jackson.
is- you sound
We're
like
in
an old
Phoenix.
man.
This is
Come on.
Maybe I am. Call me a grandpa. I don't care. This is professional sports. This is not TMZ.
But it's a lot more fun for some people.
Oh, come on. Whatever.
I'll call you a
Okay,
purist
and-
to be
and
nice.
Thanks.
As it stands right now, Cleveland's up 13. They're up 61-48 on the Celtics. And
6150, bro.
oh, they just
Check your updates.
Oh,
Fake
Jaylen
news,
Brown just hit
old
a
news.
3, 61
Audience will
to
never trust you
50.
again.
But
But now we
obviously
got another
that's-
game later today. Rockets Warriors over under on 100 threes shot tonight.
Oh,
I'm gonna take the over. That's gonna be a fun game.
that's gonna be
combined
awesome.
from both teams.
Yes, both teams.
Sure. Why not?
I think the Rockets will easily put up 53s today. That's just their offense. The D'Antoni offense. He just loves to get his shooters in the game. And the Warriors are still the Warriors. So it's going to be pretty much a game of 2K. So you're just going to be throwing up threes with your
That's
star
fun.
players.
That's gonna be a fun game then.
We'll see what it's like. I think
It's
it's
CP3's
final
debut.
score 156-139.
No,
Warriors.
like 110 to 1 even. Let's go with like a close.
I think it's going to be a high.
I think it's
gonna
gonna be close. I think it's gonna be close. It's gonna be high scoring, but I think the Rockets are gonna show up and show everyone that they're legit, especially in the
Really?
West. Yeah.
I don't think this is a statement game already for the Rockets.
Well,
No.
That's fair. But
I think this could be already the 1 and 2 seeds in the West.
yeah,
It
but
will be.
If they beat the Warriors, it'll be like, oh, this team can. This backcourt, which is new,
It's game
can
one.
get the job done.
It's game 1 of 82.
That's why you have to treat
So this would be
every
a
single
long-
game as
No.
it's
It
important.
could be your last game.
Yeah, exactly.
I just want to get to the conference
No,
semifinals.
no. Regular
only we're
season
so
is
easy.
Can
amazing.
we fast forward to April for the NBA already? Sorry.
God.
I won't watch. I'm sorry.
Ball game tied up in the Dodgers, Adam.
Andre Ethier homered in the second.
ASU grad.
Oh, we got a
Yeah, that's
tie
true.
game.
Well, at least it's a
I
Sun
think
Devil
that's a-
coming through. I'd
that's
like
a-
to see the Cubs win, but forks up.
All right, I
All
think
the
that's
time.
a good way to end today's show.
End the show on the no. We were talking. We mentioned before we started the show when we were talking amongst ourselves that we wanted to kind of touch on what we thought some of the awards though for NBA were. Is that what you guys were talking about?
Yeah, I think we could start off with something easy to start MVPs. I think this year it's not going to be the
Just
Russell
MVP
Westbrook
and Rookie of the Year.
I think MVP has got to go to. I think it could go to LeBron this year. Actually, I think this could be I think this could be the year where they really realize it's most valuable player instead of most impressive stats. I think this is what it's going to come down to. LeBron's going to be able to lead this team. It's a better team than he's played with before, but I think this is going to come back to LeBron.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to agree with you on everything, but that was going to be my pick, LeBron. I think this is going to be the season where he's surrounded by all these pieces, but he shows that he's the king and that he hasn't won an MVP in but like 3 years. So
Even though he should have.
exactly, every season he could have won it, but there's always someone else that has. Westbrook last year deserved it. He was MVP.
Yeah.
But I mean, LeBron could have got it. It's just him.
When you had that crazy numbers like LeBron
Every year.
or like that Westbrook had, but I think Rookie of the Year. I don't like the whole Lonzo Ball is gonna win it just because he's Lonzo Ball and he's the best. I think it's
Simmons.
No.
I think instant impact on a team. I think it could go to Dennis Smith Jr. I think he's gonna fly a little bit under the radar, but I also Go ahead.
People may not know who Dennis Smith Jr. plays for.
He plays for the Dallas Mavericks. He's the point guard. He was
He's a steal pick.
He's out of NC State. I believe he was the 9th pick of the draft.
He was the 9th pick.
But he looked crazy good at NC State for how poor the program was. And he was put up triple doubles a few times. I think he's becoming sort of like a little prototype, a little Russell Westbrook Jr. maybe.
Well, I respect the pick, but I'm going to stick with my gut. And my gut says who's going to be the superstar of this class, and I think it's going to be Lonzo Ball. I know I'm a Lakers fan, and that's how it goes, but I think in terms of a transition from a college player to the NBA level, I think Lonzo showed everyone in Summer League what he can do. And he may not be surrounded by the best players, but I think he can
Make
win this
more homer
award.
picks, please.
I think another guy who could have an instant impact on the team and also showed he's really good in Summer League is another under-the-radar guy from Louisville, Donovan Mitchell.
No, he
who's
played- he played great.
The Utah Jazz.
He went 12th.
The team's got they've depleted in scores. Now Donovan Mitchell will be the starting shooting guard now. And with a guy like Ricky Rubio who would like to give him the ball, who is a known facilitator, and Rudy Gobert who doesn't eat up a lot of points, I think Donovan Mitchell could put up some good numbers and surprise everyone in the Rookie of the Year voting.
I do like Ben Simmons. I think Ben Simmons is going to have a great year.
He's still a freak. We saw that.
They announced Fultz is going to come off the bench to start the season, so
TJ
it looks
McConnell's going to start?
No, it looks like they might
Simmons
play,
at the point?
No, yeah, they might play Simmons at the point.
Dude, I put Embiid at the point.
Oh no,
He can do
God.
anything.
No,
Yeah, can he?
No. God.
All right, well, I think that's about to do it for us on this week of Bottom of the Sixth. Thank you for listening. I know it was a little hectic and crazy. We had a week off. I'm 2
We
weeks
have a lot
off.
on our minds.
We have a lot to talk about. Next week, we'll probably talk about the ASU football, a little more NFL, a development in MLS, actually, that I'll probably talk about with the Columbus Crew potentially
Little
moving
footy.
to Austin, Texas, which I am not a fan of. But we'll talk about more of that next week. All right, thank you for joining us. You've been listening to Bottom of the Sixth on Blaze Radio, Blaze Radio Online. I'm Nicholas Welter signing off for Jackson Nelson and Ab Noel. Have a great night.
Bye.